I think they were actually almost like the saving grace of the whole thing because it was so messy, so unpleasant. I mean, this is the All-Stars, and the undercurrents that are going on there are absolutely amazing. And I love the way that somebody said, "Oh, just remember, this is just a game." I mean, it is the Squid Games. This is the point where it got almost lethal, and you could tell by their responses when the whole thing was announced. The only ones that seem to be wearing little halos at the moment and were chosen as being compatible with Sophie and Josh. I love Sophie. She's very sweet. I remember seeing her when she was in it before. She's got that very innocent, dimpled smile. She came out, all right, dressed as Madam Whiplash, but her heart wasn't in it. I mean, she was using that thing like a little fly swat from the kitchen. It was a sort of a lovely air of innocence, despite all the black leather dominatrix stuff. And she only really flirted with Josh when she came out, and even then, it was still quite sweet. And he was pretty much the same with her. I was very surprised though, because when you watched the way, I mean, some of those women, some of those girls were coming out like grinding into the men's laps, with like, they knew exactly what they were doing. But Josh, for some reason or other, only got his heart rate up with Sophie. So I think that's lovely. I think it would just make us think, oh, actually, probably there is something like a little bit of real love going on in there, or some real emotion. But that was the nicest, most blameless moment in a sea of awfulness. I mean, it was like some horrible big old emotional soup going on in there apart from that. Georgia Still, it's an Olympic event for her, isn't it? They've all done it before. She is going to win that come what may. And I love the way that she's openly competitive as well. I want to win this. I'm going to win this. I mean, she's obviously, since she was in it the first time, she's probably gone away every single day of her life planning how she can win that the next time, making sure she doesn't get, there's always a really rubbish outfit that one of the girls gets, isn't there? That I don't know if always somebody that comes out with something really nice. She would not have done that. I think she probably brought her own outfit in. She looked absolutely stunning. But I think psychologically what's fascinating here is that when we use the word win, I think there's sort of so many different layers when it comes to being competitive. It's not this lot, it doesn't matter that much about getting the right guy. They've all been there, done it, dated one another in private, in public, or whatever. They're not the sweet little first time arounds that they were before. And I think now it's probably a little bit less about finding true love in there. And I'm almost laughing when I say those words in there because cynical hat never comes off. But it's very much about being the one that all the boys fancy, the one that raises all the heartbeats. And that actually for her, and you could see it from the body language, what's important about that is the fact that she's then Queen Bee amongst the other girls. It's a lot of it is a kind of status thing going on with the other girls. But she's a real trooper, I'll give her that, because she absolutely fed the line. And I could only think that she was looking through the Love Island handbook of good plot lines. She knows what that heartbeat challenge is like. She sat there though and she went, oh, I've got the coolest guy in the villa. Toby's wonderful. Aren't I lucky? I mean, the guy came out in tin foil looking pretty rubbish, let's admit it. But suddenly, oh, she's absolutely so besotted by, and I just thought, I know what you're doing here because you know that that's going to pick up the drama, because we all know that you're not going to be the one that raised his heart rate. So, and that will give you a whole new plot line. So bless her, she's really working it in there, and I've got to admire her for that. Every woman will know how screechingly awful this is when you get the hand on the arm. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the last response you want. That's so smug, it's unbelievable. I mean, laugh about it if you want to. And then I think with Arabella as well, there was a huge sort of battle going on between those two, where they were suddenly watching it like a game of football. Oh, actually, your man and it was kind of, oh, well, we're even now from Arabella. I love that kind of purring, preening that's going on in there. This is all about women's status. I don't think those guys really count that much, to be honest. You get a few faces, but I'm always suspicious of them. I mean, Tom in particular, I wonder how long they had to wait and how many times they had to make him watch Old Yeller or something to get him to do that one miserable face, that dejected look, because we all know with Tom could not care less. I mean, I loved Tom when he was prepping, when they said, oh, we're doing the challenge. He was sitting there in the middle of the guys, fully splayed, legs akimbo. He did not care. It wouldn't have mattered if his heart rate went up by anybody. He, you know, no real loyalty. He's just enjoying the show like he did last time. And for him to then try and look downcast, I think, you know, he probably maybe needed a few acting lessons before that one. And you just knew as well with Toby that he was going to be up to no good, because while the other guys were sort of splaying beforehand, nothing to hide, Toby was performing a crotch cover with his hands. And I think he knew that he was probably going to get charmed away by somebody else, trying to be the nice guy, but his eye would get taken by somebody else. I don't see as much competitiveness with the guys. I think probably they will keep their eye on one another, but mainly because they think, well, we're getting sort of closer to the end now, and I want to win the whole thing, and maybe you're stealing my woman or something. But they've still got this kind of, I think, at the end of the day, boys' club thing going on. I don't think they'll be feeling it as keenly as the women are doing. Molly, I'd probably give her an acting award, because I think she knows that she's got the most amazing plot line going on there. You know, I had my eye on those two when they first arrived with Callum. Sometimes you get what are called overkill signals. Oh, no, we'd never get back together again. And, you know, and it's almost like they're creating their own little spin-off series in there. You know, we get Molly and Callum making breakfast together. Molly and Callum actually, oh, whoops, you know, you increased my heart rate the most. And Molly did this big sort of eye roll, face of disgust, you know, why would that ever happen? She wants to also understand the fact, and I don't know how they did this, because her dance for Callum was very dismissive. It was just like, you know, she barely touched him. But oh my goodness, his heart rate increased. I have to say, the heart rate can often increase out of fear as much as passion, but also there would be the fact that because those two have had a relationship in the past, it's almost easier in a way to kind of get that response, because the body will come up with kind of muscle memory that when this person is around, this is somebody that has in the past excited me and we've had a relationship. So it's a kind of knee jerk is the wrong part of the anatomy, but you know what I mean? It's a kind of something jerk reaction. So that could have been for a lot of different messages, but there's something about the way that she's being so dismissive about the whole thing that I think they're also sensing a really good plot line come. Everybody wants them to sort of get back together again. And I watched them when they did the kitchen thing. There was this kind of, we're not going to talk to one another. And then he starts referencing, how did we used to do this? You know, the violins nearly need to come in. How did we used to do this in the past? And then she gradually meets his eye contact. She starts to use illustrative gestures and it all becomes a little bit flirty. Then they go back to nowhere. We don't like one another. I love them. I love what they're doing. I admire it. But yeah, she would be the one that I would probably think, oh, come on, you know, we know where you're going with this one. I think with the others though, really, do you know, I have to say, I'm not sure that anybody really wants anybody. I'm such a sim. I think they've all been so mixed up. It reminds me now, you know, when you get these soaps and everybody in the street has kind of been married to everybody else, you know, or everybody in the close or everybody out there on the farm, they've all sort of been married to, it's a bit like that. It's a bit too incestuous. And I think, and I do get this, I think their main eye is on the fact that I have already established a career before I came in here. And I want to not only hold on to that, I want to enhance it when I get out again. So a lot of self-love going on in there, a lot of kind of career love going on in there. But for me, it would be the Molly Callum thing I'm seeing a bit of acting going on there. I'm sure that they've got, you know, they are going back to each other. There is this big thing. I mean, it couldn't have been more of a setup really from that whole thing, could it? That oh my goodness, we actually turn one another on the most, you know, quelle surprise. And then that reaction of, he looked slightly bewildered, and I think he was trying to adopt quite an innocent facial expression, which is not quite working. But with Molly, it's like, you know, the lady doth protest too much. This kind of real sour face. I mean, we got one close-up moment when she looked like she'd been weaned on a pickle at the very thought of, you know, even being near him. And yeah, it will be a wonderful, glorious plot line that if suddenly on the back of all of that, they do suddenly realise that nature was right, you know, nature knows something that we don't, and maybe we do have something going on here. I would probably put money on the two of them discovering love again by the end of it, because everybody at home will go, oh, isn't that lovely? So it's what we like to see, and I'm sure they'll deliver it.